Gateway, any news?
Hello. No news for now. Nothing to share.
Shutter, anything?
Not that much news this week. I think the most notable is that DevNode now has a finalized package to run a Shutter Keeper on DevNode. I don't know if it has been published yet, but it should be shortly. Otherwise, just working on improving metrics on our side.
Is there like the Nethermind package for DevNode? Is it already updated with the latest version for Shutter? Do you know?
Could you repeat, please?
If the DevNode package for Nethermind already has the latest version that supports
that
Shutter.
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's already updated to 1.30.1, which supports Shutter.
All right, for Hive tests.
Hi, nothing important regarding Hive. I was mostly focused on consensus spec tests and packed DevNet testing.
For Ethereum tests.
Hello, guys. Well, we worked on fixing the test cases, and everything is working now from retest and THN side. Basically, the problem was about changing the sender account so that it matched when recovering from transaction secret key, and changing the exception test to match Nethermind exception test. The output of the test cases is going to be tested by DevJit. So yeah, that will be all regarding Turing test.
So you're validating basically the Nethermind test cases with REST then?
Yeah, pretty much. Because they don't have a reference to test it against. So I mean, we'll get to know, for example, for tests that have an error, either Reth will throw a different error or the same error basically in a different format, right? So if it does the second thing, we at least know that the test case is working. Yeah, for basic tests in which Reth is already passing Ethereum/tests, that will test that way just to validate.
All right, sounds good. And yeah, so Marek said that Pectra should be the focus for this testing team now, which definitely makes sense. So yeah, if you can make sure that Gnosis passes all the Pectra tests, that would be awesome. As the hard fork, I don't know, I always say merge, is, well, I guess nearing. So yeah. So last week we talked about the ERA files, and I think someone from Nethermind was supposed to join to discuss this. Did this happen? I don't know who that was supposed to be.
Yes, we have Jarosław here who can answer any questions about that.
All right. So how does the full flow actually work? Like, who would export files? How do you import this? Is this automated? Yeah, how does everything work basically?
Should we talk this after client updates?
We can
It's
also
gonna be a long discussion.
Sure. All right. Let's just do the updates first then. Nethermind?
Sure. So from Nethermind side, we released 1.30 last week. We noticed two small issues. Actually, one was the more important one comparing to the second one. It was mostly about some small misconfiguration, which was causing Nethermind client not to start up properly when configured with systemd configuration on Linux. It was easily solvable on support, actually, but we decided that do not make users confused and do not have much effort on support to do that. We've released quickly one hotfix, 1.30.1. Everything about that right now seems to be solved and everything works smoothly. We are monitoring still if there is anything bigger, any bigger issues with that version, but seems like not There is one thing which we are observing right now with few databases corrupted, but it seems like it is some old corruptions which just suddenly appeared after restart of the node. So everything looks healthy for now, and we are observing. Other than that, Jarosław later on will give update on for Force.
Awesome. Thank you. Erigon?
No specific update.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, the full sync. So I had 2 parallel full syncs have completed. And I've been contacted by Gonzalo. He's going to build like he wants to create his own infrastructure to build images automatically. So I'm waiting to hear from him. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Russ?
Hello. Yeah, so I'm still syncing blocks after merge, and currently around 200K blocks have synced. There are occasional issues, so like I'm debugging them along the way, and the way I'm doing that is basically import a lot of, manually create block RLPs, for example, the RLPs of 50K or 100K blocks, and try to import the whole thing. And if something gets stuck in the middle, then like import just before that block and replay that manually. So once this is done, I think we can import larger numbers of blocks, and yeah, we'll just reach Shanghai or Cancun like faster.
All right. And you're still not working on implementing this like automatic way of importing blocks, right?
You mean peering?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so peering has 2 issues. Since we are using, since we don't have the pre-merge, our block hash at Genesis is different, and also our fork ID is different. So once I debug those 2, then we'll be able to do peering. But other than like, that's the reason why peers are not accepting our, the P2P request. So I'll start working on that after this. Also the fork ID, if you need to mention it.
All right.
The Genesis state is correct, but the Genesis hash is different because
Yeah, that's what I
yeah.
All right. Wait, I see a lot of conversation here in the chat. Just so that consensus spec tests is a part of Spectra testing. CLA Ethereum team did some updates that broke my existing scripts, and I'm trying to get a fresh report regarding Electra test suite. Okay. Let's test deposit exits. No. Well, yeah, consolidations on Gnosis DevNets. Sure. All right. Anything to discuss for Spectra other than testing? Yeah, Marcus?
Yeah, well, regarding DevNet 5, according to each Panda DevOps, it should be ready by end of year. And in our case, we'll be targeting the first week of January. I mean, from end of year for Ethereum.
Yeah.
And I guess just after DevNet 5, there might be just very short DevNet 6 to confirm that everything works. And then mainnet will start moving to testnets. So that's why I'm writing about pushing for Spectra testing, because we need to just perform all operations like deposits, exits, consolidations. It should be basically work the same as for mainnet, but yeah, of course, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't test it. So we need to execute those operations on DevNets.
Okay, so let's move on to the EIP for Force. Yeah, so same question as before, basically, how does the whole flow work? Who will export files? Why are they getting stored? How do you import them? Is it manual, automatic, whatever? A bit of everything, I guess.
Yeah, so the distribution part is not really, I think, decided yet, I guess. But in terms of like functional implementation, import and export is kind of manual process. There is two ways to do both. Through the CLI flags that kind of starts on the startup, and then via the RPC endpoint, which is slower and kind of not as efficient as the like on startup, because it's kind of running along with the node, but I guess it would be useful for a use case where you importing like pre-merge history when it was removed on the node. Yeah.
So if you wanted, for example, to run an archive node on Nethermind, how would you first download manually all the R1 files and then say, okay, please import all those files and then sync afterwards? Or can you do it at any moment, even if you snap sync, and then can you still import the ARA files afterwards to resync the nodes, or what would that look like?
Yeah, so basically you can trigger the import whenever you want. And so we'll process it
Okay, Sebastian?
Yeah, so I have some questions around the trust assumptions here. So I'm a new node and I'm getting a malicious ERA file from, let's say, Philip. Does my node, what are the trust assumptions here? Does my node get informed by someone, or what's the situation?
I mean, I guess the ERA files itself, you cannot really be sure where you get it. You need to have the trusted source, right? But within the protocol itself with ERA, there is a way to verify the contents of the archive. So if you download it from somewhere you're not trusting, that's kind of, I guess, on you. But if you have it from the source and then you import it, Nethermind will kind of verify the history.
But that's a different in the trust assumptions from how I currently run my node. Currently, I'm running an Nethermind node, and that node, I trust the source that I download my binary from, okay, or I build it myself, right? But from that moment on, it is on the protocol to protect me from malicious information, with the only caveat that I'm aware of Eclipse attacks, right? But if we assume that I don't get eclipsed, if I assume that the initial nodes that I connect to are honest, then I'm fine. So what you're saying is there's been a decision to depart from that one and go to a route where, on top of that, I need a trusted source from which I, technical challenges aside, but I need a trusted source from which I obtain a data file. Is that correct?
Yes. So the ERA files, not solving the distribution problem, it's solving only the archival problem, and the distribution is kind of the implementation.
Yeah, right. But I'm specifically not asking about distribution. I'm specifically asking about trust assumptions. That does change the trust assumption of running an Ethereum node, in that I need an additional trusted source in order to sync the node.
Guys, I think Jarosław is not giving correct information here. So the import process will do the same validation as the peer-to-peer, right? So when you're importing the blocks, it's all the same rules apply as if you got them from peer-to-peer. Marek,
so
Anders,
my
maybe you
node
want to clarify more.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to mention more or less the same, and I think first of all, we will not drop headers as well at the beginning, at least, and you can verify on your node that ERA file is correct. That's the one thing, and the second thing that I want to mention is that ERA files is one step forward, and then more endgame solution is Portal Network here, but this dropping history is being stuck in Ethereum a little bit, and everyone wants to move this forward. So error file is still a good solution. Yeah.
So there are also like two things to consider, I think. Now, one is the actual single, let's say, block data in the error file that is correct, and it will be validated with all the protocol rules. And the second thing I think is like the integrity of error file itself, and I think error files have it built in. Anders, maybe you know more, but I don't remember, to be honest, the details. But I know there is something.
Yeah, there's an accumulator root that accounts for that error file, but you still need some source for the correctness of the root itself.
So
And
do you check
that's
the consensus on the block? So in case of Gnosis, would you check that the Aura rules are correct?
No, you
Yeah,
can build in a list of roots in the client itself, since history is known already.
Rules.
Yeah, roots.
Rules. RULES. What I mean is, in the case of Ethereum or Gnosis, you would have to somehow create a block that is valid. You will never accept. So extending Sebastian's case, if you want to get fooled by a malicious party submitting you a bad error file, they will have to create a valid block with valid transactions, but are not canonical, and somehow pass the consensus rules. So they will still have
they
to
won't
do
pass the
complete proof of work.
consensus rules because the block hashes won't match, right? That's basically it.
You have still a path with headers.
Yeah, you still have a consensus chain. It's only for bodies and receipts at the moment.
Yes, so you have all hashes, and you just export bodies and receipts. Does it make sense?
I guess could you hard code the merge block in your binary, so at least when you complete syncing, you know if you are in the correct chain or not?
Yeah, so the other thing we are kind of doing, and we were also doing, we hard code some kind of pivot block that we trust in our configs. And it can be a merge block, but we generally tended to update it pre-release. It's more closer to our head. I think it's like, few thousand blocks behind or more on the release day. And we could also validate to that. So there are like multiple ways. The downside is that you can, do a lot of import and then at some point fail and you have to roll back. So it's really complicated stuff. For now, keeping the headers is the simplest thing, right? Keeping the header sync and headers as they don't weigh that much, like only like few gigabytes probably, and it kind of guarantees the chain very easy. We can then guarantee the chain integrity on any level. So
I mean, in Lighthouse we do the same check, and if we have this integrity check against our pivot block, we just crash and tell the user that you've been pwned, remove your DB and start over.
Yeah, that is an option. It is an option, but
because come on, that's practically never gonna happen. There is no need to like code recovery, automatic recovery for that.
Yeah. Okay. You can say that. But yeah, I think we want to keep the headers for now, so it's really easy to do it on granular level.
And just want to mention one more thing, that even if Portal Network is more final solution, then it's still the room for ERA files, because Portal Network, my understanding, will work in most cases, but ERA files will be still the best if you want to resync from scratch your node from all bodies. So like if you want to do archive sync or full sync from Genesis, so ERA file will be still the best here. So that's why I think it makes sense to push firstly for ERA files and then Portal Network.
So what will the Portal Network be good for then?
Sorry, what?
What will the Portal Network be good for then if you would still use ERA files for...
So if you want to ask for random block on, I don't know, for any block in history, but you don't want to import the whole history, then you can do it with Portal Network, for example. Or Portal Network will work with light clients as well later, and Łukasz wants to add something.
Yeah, Portal Network has a lot more usage than just an store of all the bodies and receipts in it. So it is very good support for kind of light clients that would want to just ad hoc touch some very small part of the either the archive blocks or receipts, or like even the state, because I think Portal Network will support the state too if it doesn't already. But as for what we are talking here, so in for terms, Portal Network is just a redundancy, right? So ERA files will probably be better for bulk import if you want to import a lot of like whole chain. But Portal Network is great for having a redundant storage. So in my opinion, the more redundancy for the history we have is better.
Got it. Thank you. And then ERA1 files are just for pre-merge, right? Post-merge, you can just use the ERA files from the CL. Well, is that correct for one?
So the thing is that ERA files are defined for pre-merge, but are not defined yet how they will look like post-merge. So we can drop only pre-merge history in that approach. And unfortunately for Gnosis, it means that this pre-merge history wasn't that big. But still, it is a first step forward to full force. And then we need to work on definition of post-merge blocks. That's my understanding, at least.
Yeah, so the issue is if we use the ERA files from the Beacon chain, the Beacon client will have to provide the execution client, the execution payload to the execution client via the engine API, because there's no other ingestion mechanism from consensus to execution. So I wonder at that moment we would not just be running like an import command. You actually need to run the client because you need the full engine API. I'm not sure. Has anyone thought about this, or are we in novel territory?
I think it is not that explored yet. But yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't see any reason why we couldn't have post-merge or ERA1 files for EL and have it separate if needed.
So my understanding here, and the client correct me if I'm wrong, is that you need to import to your Beacon client as well, and then Beacon client needs to verify with your EL that this block is valid.
Okay,
that's
the communication part.
But really?
What I mean is that the ERA file contains a Beacon block. So
Yes.
if you want that to flow into the execution client, you can either, I don't know, just make the execution client read consensus ERA files, which sounds weird. Like I also wonder, the whole purpose of this is if you want to run an archive node, and this archive node will want to track the head or just get stuck at specific block and never move forward. Because if you want to track the head, you need the client to be running. So it has to actually be fully synced.
Yeah, so how we are doing this, we are able to do the import while running the client, I think. So we can run, for example, snap synced head while still re-importing the old data. And in terms of the archive node, we could import the pre-merge data while processing it. And then when we get to the merge, we will just wait for the CL to feed us post-merge blocks. So I don't see that anything could not work here from our side. It should just
and
work.
Then the CL should have its own. So both clients need to interact with ERA files.
Yeah, kind of.
So if you run an Nethermind and some CL, and then you don't have snap sync, and I send you, say, the merge block, then you will buffer that block until you have synced from Genesis to that block, right?
Yes.
Can you queue an unlimited amount of blocks in memory? I mean, of course not, but say that it takes you like a week to sync, and then the CL just keeps sending you blocks. And by the time that you get to the merge block, you have already queued 3 million blocks. Is that fine?
Yeah, in theory, yes. In practice, I have no idea. We just have to be like tested and checked, and so we would have to just look at this scenario.
Do we really need to do it in this way? Can we just like kind of import it to both clients separately? So like, you know.
Well, but then you are importing something on EL side that might be wrong on CL side. So we don't have validation.
I see, but I don't know. Yeah, I think it does require more discussion how we want to handle it. Yeah, go ahead, Lion, sorry.
Well, so if I understand, sorry.
Go ahead.
So you say that the syncing of blocks from Era 1 will happen as a background process while Nethermind is already doing a snap sync and syncing to the head.
But that's full node, not archive node. So it depends on what do you want, a full node or archive node?
Archive.
An archive, that's not feasible. You don't do snapsync on archive in the first place, because you need to preprocess every block.
So you need to import blocks first and process them later.
As for what you, Marek, said, and having a separate post-merge R1 files for EL, that's feasible if we have some kind of trusted pivot that is in the range of what's available on the network, let's say. So I don't know, last 6 months or something. So if we have this, and we can have this in Nethermind very easily, we can have post-merge error files on EL without CL. So CL might not even know about these blocks, and we can just import them then.
So how are you supposed to run an archive node today? If you want to run an archive node that's following the head with a CL and Nethermind.
So first of all, we get from CL the head, and then starting from that and finalize the block. And starting from that, we are downloading all the headers up to the Genesis. And then we starting
the finalized block. Up to Genesis.
Archive node.
Yeah, backwards to the Genesis. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, backward to the Genesis. And then you're based on you build your chain, you know all the hashes. So you can start downloading blocks forward, and you downloading them and processing them up to the head. And that's more or less it with the current archive thing.
I guess have you or someone tried to do a Genesis sync with CL and a Genesis sync so you start Nethermind with archive mode, and you start a CL with also archive mode at the same time.
I see. So it will not change anything on our side. It will just change the starting block. So you mean that CL will start from first block after the merge, right?
Yeah, I guess for our purposes, it doesn't matter if it's Genesis in the CL or merge.
For EL perspective, it will be the same.
Yeah, it will reprocess everything till what the CL send it, and then the blocks that CL were sending, it will be processed, right?
But can you sync like that because of blocks? I think you might have problems, or not really, with the archive sync.
Depends on it's definitely unsafe. So I think some clients may throw warnings, some other clients may just crash and not let you. But technically, you can. Like you would have a so the CL is aware of the region in space that you need to have blobs, and then the condition that you talk about where blobs are not available, that's only if finality lapses beyond the blobs window. If that's not the case, you can sync from Genesis.
I see.
All right. Is everything clear for force?
No.
No? What's not clear then? I mean, the pre-merge thing is clear, right? And that's the only thing we're doing for the near future.
So I guess what we were talking before as initial UX, like what Yaroslav was mentioning, is that Nethermind will require some CLI action, some import command to explicitly import ERA data. But as part of this coupled EL-CL sync, pulling from ERA files should be kind of automatic and as part of the process. And I guess it sounds like at some point you would start, so you would fetch blocks from ERA up to some point and then start to fetch them from Gossip, from P2P in the same process run without running a different command. Is that true?
Yeah, this is kind of works like that. You kind of can specify the range, and you can like sync until, I don't know, 20 million blocks, and then it will continue syncing from the P2P. Oh, pulling the history.
Yeah, so you would need some manual commands, which is also the case currently on CL for Nimbus ERA files, for example, right?
Yeah. I mean, within the current implementation, which is the first iteration of the ERA import-export. But the UX itself is not really good as it is right now, but I guess we'll iterate on that.
Yes, the line, do you want something more concrete, like from the get-go to be able to sync an archive node? Or, I mean, I think it's good enough if we can just do a CLI import currently. It's not, I mean, it's a very specific case anyways to have an archive node at this point, right?
Yeah, I guess that you would need to run with this import mode until some point within 6 months and then switch to regular sync. So as long as syncing takes less than 6 months, we should be fine.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it does take longer, then you can just download, I guess, the new ERA files and then re-import those as well. Which would, of course, involve another command, but I mean, or a few.
So something that we were talking in the other call is if distribution is done through torrents, how do we do discovery of files? Because the length, so the maximum length of an ERA file is 8,000 blocks, which in Gnosis case represents about half a day. So ERA files would be produced rather frequently. I wonder how would you discover the new files?
I'm not. I mean, it's not really specific to ERA files, but we were discussing about like moving window in terms of preserving history. So maybe that could be a solution. So not updating like every new ERA file, but within, I don't know, a week or a month to move the head.
So this is the same problem will exist with Portal somehow, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe.
Well, I think Portal includes a query mechanism, so you can ask for information. You could send a packet and say, "Hey, what's the root at this slot?" and then you can get that back, and then from there you can query. And I'm not sure if Torrent supports this sort of like name addressed data, or if you can query by the hash.
I think we have the Erigon guys here. They use torrents for syncing. How does that work actually? Like, how do you discover all the torrents you need to download?
Well, at the moment we rely on GitHub, so we actually publish torrent hashes on our GitHub, and we use that. It's kind of centralized, but it's so it's not perfect, but it works.
So I guess you don't have users in China.
What? Why China?
Because I remember we had some DevNode users in China, and they could anything that relied on the GitHub was dead for them.
Oh, really?
Well, since when was this?
2 years ago.
Yeah, I think yeah, we had a lot of issues with that. Now it should be fixed. I'm pretty sure. I don't think latency is that bad.
No, it was not latency. It was the GitHub was banned in China at the time.
Ah, okay.
Or the links didn't work.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I mean, okay.
Well, I guess then we want to work in China, which is this is something that we should improve. It's kind of.
Oh no, we can improve it actually. This is easy to improve actually. Okay, thank you for telling me that.
Sure.
Are you going to unban GitHub in China?
No, we can talk about it offline.
Okay.
All right. So the ERA files, the ERA1 files currently, do they work for Gnosis? Is that finalized now?
Yeah, in my tests, I was able to import-export from the ERA on the Gnosis.
So you tested like export and import, and that works?
Yeah. There are some still quirks in the implementation that we hashing out, but it's the same with the mainnet and the Gnosis. No, any specific issues related to Gnosis.
So what are the next steps then? We can just export all of them, publish them to some S3 bucket or torrents or whatever, and then drop pre-merge history that easily. Can we easily now sync? I guess so, right? We have snap sync and everything. So does the full flow work? Let's say if you want a full node, can you easily import and then sync?
Yeah, this is what I'm doing in my test. I'm basically deleting the database and just starting to sync in different ways, imports, sorry, in different ways. And yeah, it's able to import, catch up with the heads, and then process the blocks.
Okay, so what's the next step?
So the pull request is still in the works. Probably need to be finalized, merged, but then I don't know, Marek, do you know?
Yeah, so we have to review it on our side. We have to finish this testing that Jarosław mentioned. I need to extract one thing from Ashraf because he mentioned some potential issue, but I'm not sure if he fixed that. And that's it. And we can like ship this with release. As you mentioned, upload it somewhere to probably more than just one S3 bucket. And yeah, we can, I guess, ship it, all right?
Yeah, but timeline for this is definitely next year, not
like
this year.
Yeah, this is kind of obvious because
somewhere in Q1.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, yeah, I felt like you guys wanted to jump the gun a bit. Geth doesn't have this. I mean, we're working on it, but we don't have it yet, right? And if no one can provide blocks for the sync, then no one will be able to sync Geth, right? So, I mean, if it's Q1 next year, it should be fine because that's what we're working on. But yeah, please don't release that too quickly on Gnosis Chain, otherwise Geth will be isolated.
because you have to have blocks even for normal sync, let's say, right? For
Yeah, we haven't merged anything, any code to be able to sync. So far we need to download everything, like all the headers, and then the block bodies in the other direction. And if no one can provide us with the block bodies, then sync is broken. And it doesn't matter, snap sync, full sync, it doesn't make a difference.
But it doesn't change thing that we can like ship it in Nethermind. We can even upload this to S3 buckets, but just wait for the final step, right?
Yeah, sure, that can be done.
And we need to like confirm with all the clients, Geth, Ref, and Erigon as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm sure if there are still some machines on the network that still provide, like if Gnosis, for example, was running some boot nodes that still keep their the history of the blocks, then Geth could connect to them and download from them, and it would be fine. But yeah, like all I'm saying is let's not jump the gun right away and ship it before everybody's ready, or that we have backup measures.
Yeah, so Erigon does not use this, right? So Erigon should be fine.
We rely on our snapshots, which are stored on BitTorrent, and also there is a Cloudflare R2 bucket as a backup.
All right. So,
right, but if you don't download the blocks, will you be downloading the blocks and serving them?
Depends on the setting. So
it's we torrent as also see. Wait, you mean Dev P2P or torrent?
Yeah, Dev P2P.
Dev P2P. So you mean that if we download blocks via torrent, then will we serve them to Dev P2P?
Okay.
Yeah,
but only if they're downloaded. Okay.
I mean, yes. If you don't have them, we can serve them.
Okay. Thanks.
But by default with Erigon v3, that will not be the case, right?
Yeah, we changed the default to be a full node rather than archive node, but you can, of course, run archive nodes, archive Erigon 3 nodes.
With full node, that's enough, right? You would still serve the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. With full node, we still because okay, so we.
Yeah. The thing this is a small misunderstanding because I was thinking of actually trying for beta to just implement the pre-merge drop, but it seems that people are not happy with that on Ethereum. So yeah, we're still gonna serve all the blocks with full node.
Right.
All right. Yeah, and then for rest, I think it doesn't really matter yet because it's not sufficiently advanced anyways, unless Deb tells me that it's going to be ready in Q1, but I doubt it.
We'll see.
We'll see, sure. So yeah, for rest, I think it doesn't really matter yet. So as soon as Nethermind supports it, we'll do the export, and then we'll wait for Geth to support it on Gnosis Chain. All right. Anything else specifically for Force? Yeah, Lion maybe.
I'm good.
All right. Anything else for something other than for Force then? All right. Sounds good. Next week, well, I guess it's Christmas, right? So obviously we're going to cancel. And the week after is the 1st, so I guess we should also cancel. Yeah, so we're going to cancel the next 2 core dev calls. So happy holidays, happy Christmas, happy New Year, whatever else you might do. Happy holidays, yeah. And thanks for joining, and see you in 3 weeks then.
Happy holidays.
See you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
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 Happy holidays, guys. Bye.